When I walk into a store or convention ready to buy video games, I guide myself with the rule of only buy games I want to play. I then choose what to buy the same way I have since I was a kid. That is, basing my decisions solely on what's on the box. This mindset allowed me to quickly fill my shelves with games and feel like I was a part of the retro gaming community. Now that the time has come to sit down and actually play the games I've bought, I'm slowly realizing a lesson I've heard for years. Quality over quantity. This is Blowout. I probably bought it for $1.50 from another castle in Edmonds, Washington. I was no doubt drawn to its gun-blasting, dew-swilling, early 2000s CG rendering of 80s testosterone action. I knew the Majesco logo meant low budget, but surely I'd get more than $1 menu's worth of enjoyment out of this. Right? Turns out that fast food analogy was more apt than I thought, as enjoyment of Blowout is entirely dependent on its ability to invoke memories of other games and franchises I've enjoyed in the past. So, whatever. Let's unwrap this bit of drive-through impulsiveness and see for ourselves. It's apparent from the opening cutscene, the franchise we should think about most is Aliens. Let's take a count. Our hero chews through a cigar while monologuing about Xenos,
the last Xeno raid, a
xenomorph,
and needing to investigate why communication was lost with an outpost.
honor guard went dark, not a word since.
still no contact with the colony,
He talks about losing his whole squad,
Chewed up my entire division.
Destroyed my crew.
and being promoted to jump master
Jumped Marshal.
Combat drops.
of a ship that looks very fucking familiar. And once we're in game, there's no mistaking the inspiration for these dank, poorly lit aluminum corridors. Even if you aren't familiar with the Aliens movies, there is a definite sense of foreboding as we inch forward into the unknown, accompanied only by the echo of the ship's computer and heavy clanking of John's boots.
The laundry facility is temporarily closed due to reconstruction. Please refrain from smoking in the elevator.
I want to clarify. Being inspired by the reverse Uno card everyone slaps down in response to sequels are never better than the original is not a bad thing. The movie was a defining moment in pop culture whose influence to gaming was felt immediately. We could even point to other successful Xbox games that have this inspiration coded into their DNA. What's important to keep in mind is, does this inspiration build into something greater, or are these just references? Something I struggle with every time I quote Family Guy for a cheap laugh. Full disclosure, this atmosphere had me hooked. And, wait a sec. I called him John, didn't I? That's not even his name, but none of you would have questioned me because this whole vibe oozes a space marine named John. With a warning from our CEO that something is right ahead, the game's tone pulls an e-brake 180 and hang on. Yeah. It's at this point you'll pause the game and lower the sound effects volume because holy balls, this shit is loud. Here's my recommended settings. This new can-crushing tone of gunfire and heavy metal also grabbed me immediately, as I too enjoy the power fantasy of blasting mutants in the face with a 9mm fire hose. Then I got to level 2, then 3, and so on, and I eventually realized I had experienced everything this game had to offer by the time my gun cooled off from that first encounter. Of the game's 10 stages, not a one of them looks or plays any different from the other. This is where the nostalgic love of other games is meant to keep us going. Exploring a stage fills out a 2D map that looks unmistakably similar to a certain franchise that was also inspired by the Aliens movie. It's needed too, as the desperate lack of unique landmarks and respawning enemies makes it easy to get lost. Being able to aim in all directions and having a weapon with infinite ammo gives the faint aroma of iconic arcade run and gunners, which I imagine smells like cheap pizza, child sweat, and the depression of an early 20-something crying inside of a mouse costume. Each stage adds a familiar weapon to the arsenal, including a shotgun, minigun, rocket launcher, nail gun. Force the player to hunt down different color key cards, and now you can add the legacy of the two Johns to the nostalgia trip.
Level 5.
Good job, Kate. Now we have access.
The other elements that made these laudable franchises timeless is missing from Blowout. Exploring the sprawling maps didn't feel rewarding when they all look identical and there are no abilities to unlock or other rewards awaiting discovery. The mutant and weapon variety doesn't lead to a fun and interesting combat loop considering the monsters are spawned in massive clumps of writhing polygons. With no room to maneuver and enemy AI programmed to rush you, the only strategy is to run backwards while fumbling through your weapons and hitting even more spawn triggers. Come on, where's the damn grenade launcher? To give some credit where it's due, there is a unique boss fight at the end of each stage. Too bad their visual design looks as random as the other monsters, and learning the boss pattern feels more like finding an exploit. Focusing on a single end boss creature at a time ends up being the best strategy since there are no phases or changes to behavior when you down one of them. The farther you progress, the larger those alien swarms become, and the tougher it is to avoid taking damage. It's critical to find the game's 4 damage upgrades hidden across the campaign. Players are informed early in Map 1 that the presence of steam can mark hidden areas. Shoot the wall or floor to destroy it and open a path to another hallway. Color me surprised when I realized many hidden areas don't have any clue at all, steam or otherwise. Some don't even show up on the map. For the most part, these are not what I'd call secrets at all. I think everyone agrees a secret needs to have something with a tangible benefit to the player, some health, ammo, a power-up, maybe give you a weapon early or a shortcut to the finish. With Blowout, it seems a secret can entail a completely empty hallway, or more frequently, a gauntlet of monsters and defense systems that drain your health and ammo without so much as a refill on what you expended. An argument could be made that these areas are for increasing your score. If this was the developer's intent, then I feel it's made mute by the fact I could just farm respawning mobs at any point to pad my score. This also wouldn't address the issue of completely empty secrets. But since I wanted those aforementioned upgrades and they could be literally anywhere, my Wolfenstein 3D instincts kicked in. I shot every surface with my machine gun to ensure I wasn't missing an area. I'm 5 stages in, and this approach takes me over 30 minutes to reach each exit teleporter. This isn't fun, and I have a rule to not force myself to finish games when this happens. Before I completely quit, let's look at the cheats, which are right here in the pause menu. Each cheat requires a sentence of 4 words, and there's an insane buttload to choose from. They clearly wanted players to goof around with this, and I can totally respect that. But seriously, why do I have to enter the cheat codes again every time I load my game? Let's see if one of these cheats can make the game go faster. Yeah, that's more like it. We can also check out each stage to double check and make sure none of them play any different. Alright, fine, let's see what the ending looks like. In both the opening cutscene and the game's manual, it claims the monsters are mutated clones of a named character named, Alright, here we go. We have a clone named CF Stevens version 4, contracted a virus which made him self-aware, and he began cloning himself. And those clones are the monsters we see on the ship. Okay. So I at least expected a final fight with this character. Instead we have a mini boss rush, a hunt for switches to activate a self-destruct, and now we're in a falling credits minigame with a giant head and giant feet? I don't fucking know. I'm sorry, I don't want to rag on this. This is clearly developers having fun. Developers should always be encouraged to have fun. It's just, this is not the ending I expected. How about we go with that? Wait, what? Special thanks to the short bus for getting us to work? While I was editing this video and capturing B-roll, I realized I liked having the game's music going on in the background. I decided I had to talk about something positive in this review, so I'm cramming it in here. When not in combat, the music is suggestively mysterious with a sense of dread and foreboding. There are occasional jump scare noises thrown in, but they're quiet and don't ruin the listening experience. Once shit kicks off, the combat music barges in with its... Okay, look, I'm terrible at classifying music. Some of it is crunchy heavy metal riffs, and some of it is electronic, so does that count as industrial? I honestly don't know. At first these tracks sound like 3-second loops, but if you can keep the action going, you'll hear it grow more complex. When things die down, so too does the combat track, returning you to the creepy dulcet tones and clashing footfalls. It's a shame then that despite the copious amounts of mindless monster murder this game has, the encounters are spaced just far enough apart you won't hear the more compound arrangement without pausing the game. I'm sampling what I think are the best tracks in the game, so if you don't like what you hear, then there's nothing for you. I don't know, I just liked having it on in the background, and maybe someone else would too. With regards to hearing the music outside the game, the unpackaged music files weren't part of my ripped backup. I also checked the Steam version, but it's the same, everything's still packaged. Finding them on YouTube was also a bust, but hey, did you know there's a 1981 film starring John Travolta called Blowout? I decided to record it myself, and I'm not a preservationist or audiophile, so I used my capture card. As mentioned, to record the combat music I had to pause the game, which lowers the volume. I then raised the volume in post, rendered and uploaded to YouTube. So expect some quality loss if you have an ear for that sort of thing. You can check out the playlist in the description, or if I ever figure out how to do that thing that links it in the middle of the video. Alright, look. I love action. How could I not when my childhood consisted of this,
Jim Harold second, Steve Trent third. Oh, we got a banging, slamming jar in the...
this, and a whole lot of this.
Damn, those aliens bastards are gonna pay for shit on my ride. I'm gonna get medieval on your asses.
Back then, games like Zelda and Super Metroid were asking just a bit too much of my concentration, and I spent a lot of my time replaying the likes of Ninja Turtles Arcade using the Konami code, or NHL 96 playing as the overpowered Blackhawks, or playing Earthworm Jim with the Turbo controller. Point is, I like to pick up and play action games and then also use cheats to make them even easier to consume. So Blowout would have made me feel like a gaming god and likely have been a childhood favorite. Interestingly, or maybe not, I played through both Metroid Zero Mission and Super Metroid this past summer. Metroid is now my favorite Nintendo franchise, and I'm hoping to find Dread under the tree this Christmas. I'm curious how I'd feel about Blowout if I hadn't just played those games. In the startup cutscene, Dylan says,
Something moves. I shoot it till it don't move no more. Repeat as necessary.
that is the truest summary for what Blowout has to offer. I guess this time I was looking for something a little deeper than a rain puddle. Thanks for watching.
Can you believe I went this whole review without a blow it out your ass joke?
Hey there, did you know we live stream on Twitch? Find me and sometimes Noah Wednesday evenings around 7 p.m. Pacific at twitch.tv/sweatycouch. Here's something you missed. Oh no, this is going horribly wrong. Oh, I turn with the triggers? What? How do I shoot? Welcome to training mode, where we're just gonna shoot rockets right at your face. How do I walk? Oh my god, it's with the D-pad. I walk with the D-pad. Oh no. What is this control scheme? Oh my god, this is the worst thing I've ever played.